Well, it's Tax to Death week on Fox Business, and it seems as if Democratic senators are going to punt the issue of tax hikes until after the November midterms.
Fox News reporting that an afternoon meeting led by Senate Finance Committee Chairman Max Baucus produced no consensus on what to do about the expiring Bush tax cuts.
So will passing the issue off to a lame duck session make it more or less likely a deal will get done? Let's ask Republican Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. He joins us now. Senator, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. So if there is no vote before the elections and Republicans do take the House at least one of the houses of Congress, what happens then? Do we have a lame duck session between November and January that does nothing and therefore the tax rises automatically?
Well, thanks, David. Thanks, Liz, for having me. I'm hearing what you're hearing, that the Democrats are very divided over this. The Republicans are united. We think you shouldn't raise taxes on anyone during the middle of a recession. Some Democrats agree, others disagree. If this goes through, this Obama tax hike would be the largest tax hike in American history. So we're doing everything we can to overcome that. And if we take over in certain places, I mean, we're going to do everything we can. But there are many Democrats in both the House and the Senate who disagree with their leadership, and I think they're ready to vote, and the vote should be to not increase taxes on anyone in the middle of a recession.
And we know how businesses feel. We just spoke with Consul Energy over the last hour, and he was saying that it's very hard to swallow any kind of sunsetting of the Bush tax cuts. But to be fair, Senator, to say that it's an Obama tax hike, when in essence this is something that Congress voted upon way back when to sunset in 2011. So looking at the picture of changing what we didn't know back then, and that was that we'd be dealing with this financial crisis, what solution do you and the Republicans see?
Well, there are a couple things there, Liz. One is that these have been the rates that people in this country have been paying for the last 10 years. So you're going to change that. That's going to raise taxes for people. The other is the president, the Democrats, they knew this was coming. And now, so all of a sudden, at the end of this year, with the elections coming, there shouldn't be any surprise that this was happening. But at a time when unemployment in this country is 9.6%, and at the time when the president really has taken his eye off the ball and has failed to really work on jobs and the economy and the debt and the spending, you know, what I see looking at this is if you raise taxes on people, you're going to hurt people worse. The problem isn't that we're taxed too little, it's that we as a nation spend too much.
The president, of course, says that all of the revenues, or suggests that the revenues from any tax increase will go to paying down the debt. But can you think of an example of where that's ever happened, when they've used increased revenues to actually pay down the debt? We remember, of course, the Clinton administration, but they had tremendous revenues as a result of decreasing the capital gains tax.
Well, and you know, David, just last week the president gave a speech and he said we have better ways to spend the money. As if it were his money. This money belongs to the American people, to the taxpayers. It's not his money to spend. He's not in any way talking about really going down to reduce the deficit or the debt. He's looking for more money to spend, and that's the problem with Washington: wasteful spending. It's out of control. It's unsustainable. It's irresponsible. And people that I talk to at home in Wyoming are very worried that it may be irreversible. That's what they want their country back. They say stop the spending.
But Senator, there's such hypocrisy out there. They say stop the spending, yet they show up at the ribbon cuttings of any kind of project, pork project, whether it's from a Republican state or a Democratic state. At what point do Americans have to understand that it is actually going to hurt when you feel the cuts, but that's the way it gets done to draw down the deficit?
Yeah, I don't show up at those events. I've spoken out against that whole stimulus bill, the so-called stimulus. We spent $800 billion, Liz. We have very little to show for it and a lot more debt. The national debt now $13 trillion. 41 cents of every dollar we spend, we're borrowing from China. You can't continue like that. Many states live within their means, balance their budgets every year. Washington needs to do the same, and they're clearly not doing it now. And the voters are going to send a message this November that they're tired of it and it's time to stop.
All right. Well, they've already sent some messages in the primaries, and I should add that you just took the place of Lisa Murkowski of Alaska on the Republican Conference Committee. She still remains a senior Republican on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, and to Liz's point, she is one of those who goes to all those ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Should she be taken off of that committee, the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, which some people say is filled with pork?
There are very few hearings left in that committee during this session of Congress. I will tell you the Republican Party and the Republican members of our conference are clearly united, and we're behind Joe Miller in his effort to get elected to the United States Senate. We have our candidates nominated across the country, and we're supporting those who won
so I guess the answer
Republican
quickly,
primaries.
Senator, the answer is no, she will not be taken off of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee until January, correct?
She's still the ranking member.
All right, Senator John Barrasso, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you. While Senate
Thank you, Deb. Hey,
Democrats
thanks,
talk
Liz.
about